I've been doing real.
Welcome to Edge of the Rabbit Hole. You only got 10 seconds, guys. Get all your laughs out of the way. And I think we're looking at Jake's stomach. Or did he just disappear on us?
I see his face.
What'd I do?
I don't know. I just see a shorter... Well, welcome to Edge of the Rabbit Hole, everyone. I'm Mike Ricksecker. With us, as always, is Vanessa Hogel. And our Chat Shananigator, Shana Wankel, is with us this evening as well. We also have Jake Medford from the Historic Riverboat Preservation Association. Oh, there he is. Good. We lost his video for a second. So, all right. Well, this is going to be a... I hate to say it. It's going to be a shorter... Jesus Christ. What do you mean no sound? Let's see. Zippy Davis says we have no sound. I see all the sound hooked up. I see all the sound hooked up.
Okay, I'm going to pull it up on my phone and see.
Yeah. I hear everybody.
I hear everybody. That shows output just fine. So, and Tim Schoen is saying he hears us fine. So,
okay.
Don't know what to tell you, Zippy, but thank you for the $2 super chat. Absolutely appreciate it.
Woo!
Better go out and come back in, Zippy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as I was trying to say before Zippy said we had no sound, is that this is going to be a short show, so we're going to try to cram in as much as possible. Because basically, I forgot my power supply in Illinois, and I ordered one immediately when I got back because I realized, when I first got back on Sunday night, no power supply because I was going to try to do a few things. And so I immediately ordered a new power supply, had it 1 day shipping, all that stuff. Arrived today, except they sent me the wrong one. So, yeah, I went out, got a little, universal power supply. It's only 90 watts. My big honking laptop takes 180 watts, so it just not charging. And now that I got all this stuff running, it's dropping like a rock. So we need to get through as much as possible, as quickly as possible. And so Jake is here to talk about the Goldenrod. Of course, that's why we have Shana on as well, because she was a volunteer for the Goldenrod, and so many great things associated with that boat, and all the memories, all the history, because of everything going on with the computer. I don't even know where to start right now. But Jake, you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself, what you've done for the Goldenrod, maybe give people a little bit of update, because for those that are unfamiliar, Goldenrod Showboat tragically was burned down in an arson fire back in October. So there's pending stuff with that. So Jake, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. I think a lot of people kind of know a little bit about the Showboat. You guys have talked about it quite a bit. I started back in 2010 with the nonprofit, and a few years after that, I became more and more involved. The original plan was to save the Showboat and reopen it as a working nonprofit in St. Louis, as an educational facility, a working theater, all that. But I'm not, we never got the right footing for the project. And, of course, as everyone knows, it was burnt down by arson, like Mike said last October. But what else do you kind of want to know, kind of where we are on that?
Yeah, if you could update everybody on that. And $10 super chat from Tom McNicholas. Thank you very much, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
What's the update?
Well, I've done a lot of looking into this, and we've been trying to put a name to whoever was responsible. The problem with that being is having the hard evidence to say this person actually did it. And that is what is my biggest challenge, is saying, here's the hard evidence. Here's, we're recording you saying you did it, something that, of that nature. But Shana knows pretty well, because we talk quite often, the kind of the ways we've been looking into it. We've talked to different people who are talking to landowners, who are talking to the fire departments, who are talking to people who responded, people who saw firsthand all of that. I am personally not liked by the fire department over there, because
Right.
I asked questions. Anyone who asked questions was kind of shunned away. You don't, why would you be stepping in that arena? But Shana knows my history with the Showboat, and I don't shut up. So we have an idea, a very, very solid idea, that we've been told, this group was responsible, but we cannot say who that group is until we actually have that hard evidence, because I don't want to get us in some legal battle
Right.
over me saying, this guy or whoever did it. But let's just say they weren't very smart when they were trying to cover this up.
Oh. Now, do you feel that because this is a historic, and I use the term historical landmark because it is.
Yeah.
But do you feel like because it was not a functioning, so to speak, showboat at the time, that it was historical, that the people in the community saw it as more of an eyesore and let's get rid of it, or was it arson for a different reason? What are your beliefs on that?
Well, here was my biggest battle with the Showboat, was the people in St. Louis. There was a lot of people that cherished it as a national historic landmark. Okay, a lot of people cherished it like that. There was another group, a smaller group in St. Louis, that said, just get rid of it. It's old. It's ran its course. We've had that feedback. I've had that since day one. Now, up where we are over in Calhoun, it was quite the opposite. Everyone up there said it's junk. It should be destroyed. Why is it here? Shana and I have recordings of people saying, they didn't realize that we were filming at the time, when they were having conversations in the background.
Nice.
But they were saying, we can probably burn that and get the money out of it. But the thing was, it boiled down to how much money they can get out of the situation. And I'm not going to say who or what, but it boiled down to money.
Oh, we said that from the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely.
This has been how it's been handled in your community. I think is a fairly decent indicator of how easy people can toss aside history, and how of little importance it is to major population. They don't see the relevance of it. And you and Shana, and I definitely know Mike and myself, completely disagree with that stance. Are you doing anything to try to change that mentality in your community?
Well, what we've done, especially when I remember, Shana was there, we did the Channel 9 interview, and that was when the project was going really great. And the same question came up then. And my answer then and now is that we are in a throwaway community. We spent, I don't know how much money on the riverfront in St. Louis, millions of dollars, for everything up to the riverfront. And past that, they did nothing. And people forget that the riverfront is what brought St. Louis its people. It brought everything there. And they're missing the biggest part of history because they would rather have new, the modern look, because that nobody cares about history like they should.
Yeah, because this boat was right there on the riverfront for decades, and we have And I can show some more photographs of the Goldenrod being right there when the arch was built. After the arch was built, it was there forever. And
Right.
yeah, it just seems to be a shame that they wouldn't embrace that kind of history, because there does seem to be some areas that have that bit of nostalgia and want to embrace their history, but that just isn't happening in St. Louis, huh?
No, not even close. They are very blunt about it. I know in the new Arch Museum, whatever they put underneath the arch, they did put a place for the riverfront, but they gave it, a little corner, but they didn't do anything big. And I think one of the pictures I sent you, Mike, was, the goldenrod in the background after the fire and the arch being built.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'll bring that one up. So it's not
See,
that one.
and that, Jake, that is one thing that I find real quick while Mike's pulling up those pictures. It's one thing that I find absolutely fascinating is having spent such a great deal of time overseas, and you see how history is perceived over there and how it's cherished and how every single thing is done to try to keep it at the forefront so that people know where they came from. And it is the exact opposite in this country.
Yeah, it's unbelievable how they throw things away. And Mike has the picture up, and you can see, and I can take a lot of information out of this photo. If you look at the showboat, there's no pilot house. And that's because this is after the fire, and this is when Minky is actually working on it by himself, trying to get things back in order. This would probably be right before it was bought by Frank Pearson, and then reopened, because the Becky Thatcher should be either to the right or left of this area, and that has not sank yet. And after that boat sank is when they put the pilot house on the Goldenrod.
It's astounding. Shauna, I mean, how do you feel? What are your views on how this has been handled, and are other locations that are in your general vicinity that might have historical relevance, are they in danger of the same fate?
I think everything is in danger as long as there are people out there like the ones who don't care right now, that allowed what, happened, the fate of the boat, basically, us as a group, we could only do so much. We didn't have the kind of money that it was going to take. And so that's why fundraisers happened. And that's why everything else happened. And it all boiled down to the people who could save it not caring, and the people who wanted to save it just couldn't do it. So, we did fight one hell of a fight. It was definitely a battle all the way down to the end. I know that there's people that no longer can look me in the face after some of the things that I have said to them regarding that boat. I've lost, well, you know me, you guys know me. So, yeah, there's a lot of places, right now that are in danger for the same reasons. Some of them are close by, me in the same county. I know that Mike knows probably of some that are also in danger, and that's why Haunted Road Media does what it does. We like to feature the different places, touch on their, history, get there, tell the story the right way, make sure that the history is a part of it, and, to bring awareness. It's not about trying to get on TV and be famous. It's about, trying to save history and, maybe open some eyes in the process.
We have Vicki Lawrence with a $20 super chat. Thank you very much, Vicki. I really do appreciate that.
Thank you.
Now, Janice Simmons had a question in there about what about a museum? And Jake, I know that Riverboat Association does have a number of artifacts that they've hung on to and are in storage right now, and there may be some plans. I know you're going to show some off at the Haunted Road Media ParaCon coming up in here in June. So what are the plans?
Well, we actually have one. I think I told Shauna about a week or so ago, but I'm not really wanting to expand on that one yet
Ah,
because that hasn't even went to the board yet. So
Okay.
we're gonna hold on to that one. But right now, I have a few of the pieces already done that have been restored. You'll see the plaque back out at the conference. You're going to see the ticket window with me.
Oh, nice.
So there are a few pieces that are done and ready to go. So those will be coming with me. We actually have been going through all of the stuff that we got from the showboat. And Mike and Shawnee, you guys were there. It was like stepping back in, and you had all the rooms at the same time. And it's a process. We've reorganized. We're starting to inventory it now. We have one locker completely inventoried and trying to sort through it. So one of the guys were saying we should just send it out to different places, and that's been an idea. But the president of the nonprofit said, hold on to everything until we give this one last shot. So that's what I am doing, is holding on to everything so we can give it one last shot.
no, that's very commendable. And I hope that people understand. I mean, everyone looks back at, and they think that this doesn't happen, that places aren't destroyed, that historical areas aren't destroyed for new things. They laugh at the movie Poltergeist, houses built on cemeteries, but the fact of the matter is, this stuff happens all the time. All the time. I believe it's it's a Table Rock Lake in Missouri, or it might be Taneycomo, but I think it's Table Rock. That's a man-made lake. Guess what? They only took the headstones. So for decades, when it would overflow, bodies would rise up.
Oh, I lived out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm telling the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they would rise up for decades. Nobody cares where we came from. It's as if they don't want to be reminded, or if it's just too much of a hassle. And it's so unbelievably sad. And I hope that anyone watching this takes a stance in their community when they see something along these lines start to fall out.
Yeah, Candy Orton in chat says, thank you to the guest, referring to Jake, for what he and his team and supporters are doing. So yeah, it's great that you're even after this tragedy, you're still doing everything you can to try to keep the memory alive, because I mean, this was something that was the last of its kind. And I know Shauna and Jake, you two had some very emotional ties to that boat, both the physical structure and as well as the spirits and the ghosts that roamed there on the Goldenrod. So something I was kind of curious about, it got brought up in the last show, and I don't know if I know you can only talk about some some little things, Jake, but something came up in the last show was the designation for, it was a National Historic Landmark. It lost one of the designations, like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, whenever it was.
Right.
But those couple of other designations, are those in play at all for, some repercussions here?
Actually, we've looked into everything we could with that. We looked into the National Landmarks Program, the National Historic Landmark, and neither one could do anything. I remember talking to my representative at the national level for the National Park Service, and her name was Alicia, and she said, I can point you in the right direction, but we don't have any money to do anything.
Oh, wow.
Their endangered places list is just a list. That's all it is. They can't do anything about it because they have little to no funding, and this was 5 years ago. They still said, oh, we would love to help, but, and we always kept getting the but, well, we the intention's there, but they can't do anything. And when we looked at the repercussions for making the people responsible, if that would have any more repercussions, because of the status, same answer. Prove it, and it's just a little bit more of a slap on the wrist. It does not amount to anything anymore. Because the problem is no one cares.
Yeah.
But arson is arson. Arson is arson. It is arson.
It's still a crime, yes.
So,
and that's it's horrible.
Yeah, here's a interesting question. Kind of changing the topic up a little bit, and maybe it's geared a little bit more towards Shana. This is from Sean Oldsmith down there in Australia. If you had the platform, would the spirits be pissed if rebuilt?
I mean, rebuilding means it's a different structure. And so I understand that it's not the same. It may, in their eyes, not be the same, but the feeling behind it is still there. Well, we want to try to give, a home back. May not be the same one, but to me, it says, we still want to keep you guys around. If they're still wherever they are.
Yeah. Well, let me turn it to Jake here. So, hypothetical. Of course, it would be something, a bit down the road. But let's say it was rebuilt.
Right.
And you have a number of the pieces, in your creative mind. Would you use some of those? Would you use those pieces in the structure, or would it be something completely rebuilt with maybe an on-site museum with the pieces?
Actually, when we were starting the process of taking the showboat apart, it was with intentions of rebuilding. So we have taken something out of every room of the showboat that could be used to rebuild it. That way, it still has that energy. And that was very important to me because the energy inside the showboat was one that I still can't even give it justice to explain today. And you both know what I'm talking about, especially before the ceremony we had there. It was just unbelievable. People would walk on and just be taken aback because of the power inside that place. So preserving that was beyond important for me. And so we did take something from every room and have it all drafted out to where we could reconstruct every room with pieces.
Nice. Very nice.
Do you have an area that you would like to do that in? Have you staked out an area or chosen an area that if you ever had the opportunity that you would be able to do it there?
We have a couple places in particular already.
So I see that sly smile there, Jake.
He's not showing his hand though.
No hand showing. But you're absolutely right. I mean, the Colosseum in Rome, everyone thinks that is the original structure, when in fact it's not. Really, only the area underneath is original, and the rest of it, over hundreds and hundreds of years, has been rebuilt or replaced. But it still, because of the understructure, because of what's underneath, retains a majority of that energy and is still one of the most haunted places on Earth. So it would stand to reason you would have the same situation.
Right, and that was the idea, was to take certain things, and the things that we took off the showboat were the things that made the goldenrod, okay? And I know you can't really say that because the whole structure was there, but the pieces we focused on first were the ones that were most important to me because I knew the background of those individual things. And that's what, the main goal was, and we were very successful in that.
I don't know if anybody can answer this. This is from Tim Schoen. I don't know, maybe Vanessa can tune in a little bit. Are the spirits aware of efforts to try to save or make something of the remains of the boat, however successful that may be?
Yes, and in fact, what they're doing, sorry, I've got to have my eyes closed for this one.
Sure.
They are absolutely aware of what is going on. And Jake, especially you, I think that you can answer this by saying that this is true, that they have done their best to lead you in the proper direction to find out who actually did this. They have played a very specific hand in moving you where you need to go, who you need to listen to, who you need to speak to in order to be able to solve this so that you guys can move forward with rebuilding.
Well, I will say that a few pieces of the puzzle came together pretty easy. And the final piece that gave us the name behind it was, kind of thrown at me really hard. And at first I was, kind of freaked out by the person. And then I got home and there's this message on my voicemail at home. And I'm like, the guy is like yelling at me to call him back. Well, I call him back and we're talking for a little bit and I explained the situation and he said, "Oh, well, I can tell you all about that." And that's where we kind of got the last piece of information. But a lot of the pieces of the puzzle came, slamming in my face. I will say that.
Oh, yeah. That makes me happy. Sorry. If anyone ever wants to know if you're guided from beyond the grave, it is absolutely true. And it's those instances that you can't explain that happen like that I can guarantee you, and I've said this in readings, that's when you know that somebody is walking with you. Somebody is right there with you, helping guide you, not telling you what to do, just giving you a little nudge. Little nudge in the right direction.
And you have Joanne Rubino down there in chat with the old Field of Dreams adage, if you build it, they will come. So,
yeah.
Something I'm keeping an eye on the power because of our issues, and so it's, it's not pretty. So we don't have too much longer left. So I do want everybody to know, in case we just accidentally get cut off, that Jake is going to be there at the Haunted Road Media ParaCon June 9th at the Mineral Springs Hotel in Alton, Illinois. He's going to have a Goldenrod Showboat exhibit and plenty of artifacts. This book here will be available. This is the Encounters with Paranormal Volume 2. Part of the proceeds of this book do go to help the Goldenrod Showboat. And Jake, from what I understand, you're going to be showing the film from the final ceremony from a couple years ago.
Yeah, I will have that with me, and we'll have a screen set up, and we can show that during the event.
All right, very, very
awesome.
Cool. And maybe kind of explain for our viewers, because I know there's especially for the people that haven't been following along as long, I know there's a little bit of confusion over what happened 2 years ago and what happened here just, 6 months ago?
Sure.
Because there was a point in time where you lost it, and then you got it back, and then you kind of lost it again.
Well, I'll tell you the little story behind that. We are the original owners of the Showboat. We owned the Showboat up until 2013 when it was lost for mooring fees because the original administration of the nonprofit did not. They were more history-oriented rather than business, so they didn't have the funds necessary. Well, at that point, Shana and I kind of took up with the owners in Campsville, and we worked side by side with them for quite some time. And, we made deal after deal. We paid them gobs and gobs of money to keep the Showboat around. And when I'm talking gobs of money, you wouldn't believe how much we paid out to these guys. And, well, what happened was they sent a lawyer after us saying that at the end of March, I think it was 2014, 2015, something like that, they are going to remove our rights and take over the Showboat, and they were going to take it apart piece by piece, and that was the deal. And we agreed to that because it gave us enough time to remove everything we needed, and if it was being taken apart piece by piece, the structure would be saved. We would have all the pieces instead of just some. So we agreed to that. So at the end of that, the last day of that contract, we did what we call a celebration of life for the Showboat. And during that time, we had this big blowout. We had food, music, we had everything you could imagine. You know, there was a performance back on the showboat. It was a wonderful, wonderful day. And it wasn't but, you know, what was it, Shauna, like 5 months after the event ended, they were, you know, sole owners of the showboat. All of our stuff was removed. We were no longer allowed near it, not allowed on the property. They called and said, oh, we can't do anything with it. Because at that point, the EPA had stepped in and said, hey, you guys are going to tear it apart. The way they were, after the contract ended, they changed their plan from piece by piece to just plowing it over. And that wasn't going to work because they had to do an asbestos abatement and all that. Well, after they figured out how much that would all cost, they came back to us and said, hey, why don't you guys take this project back over, see if you can give it another try, see if you can get someone to come in and have you guys take it apart. And we agreed to it. And at that point in time, I'm going to emphasize this, at that point in time, they signed over the Goldenrod Showboat to the Historic Riverboat Preservation Association. Shauna has held the document free and clear with no strings attached. The nonprofit owns the showboat. Okay? All of a sudden, you know, we are back in power. We are back on the showboat. We're doing everything. And then what was it? We had I was in Chicago, and then I come back, and the next morning it was on fire. And it was all over.
Yeah.
So, in other words, they destroyed your property.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, you know, they're not going to, because some lady on Facebook brought that up, and it was quite interesting that the response I gave was, so you're saying that the nonprofit is the owner, because we've kind of taken the back seat on this. You know, they want to go in and break all these rules and go out and try that. You know, who am I to let them, you know, tie their own wrist? If they want to, you know, do that, let them do it. Because all they're doing is, yeah, I've always said karma sorts itself out. And right now, that's working pretty well.
Well, by law, since they destroyed your property, there has to be a police investigation.
That's
by
correct.
Law.
That's correct. However, when everyone plays in the same sandbox in the same county, nothing was ever reported.
When everyone plays in the same sandbox in the same county, they all get covered in the same cat shit.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. And that's what is continuing to happen, because right now they tried to tear apart the rest of it. And I got a number as to how much the rest of the hull is worth in scrap. And the number, I was, you know, thrown back. And then I hear by one of the caretakers is that the EPA stepped in and stopped them from touching it because they got in a little bit of trouble. So what we are doing is letting them take the fall because they are the ones that initiated that. And so we're letting this all sort itself out until the time we can step back in and say, hey, now what did you guys do here? You know, because we still have the document signed and stamped, you know, with everything on it. It's a legal document saying that they signed it over. So we're kind of playing this one out and seeing where it goes.
This brings to mind an unbelievably famous quote by Napoleon Bonaparte. Never interrupt your enemy while they're making a mistake.
Yeah.
Yep. Let them cut their own throats.
Words to live by.
Yeah. Sean Oldsmith asked, changing the topic up a little bit again, is there activity around the artifacts?
Oh.
Any paranormal activity around the artifacts?
Haven't done an actual investigation, although I would like to. But when you open up that storage unit and walk inside, it's like, I mean, it just buzzes. I mean, you can just feel the aura, the energy that you're stepping into. I don't see why it wouldn't be, you know?
Yeah.
Well, like Jake said, there were very specific reasons he took what he specifically took. So I'm guessing that you took the things that you knew would hold the most energy.
That's right.
Okay.
Now, you've been in the storage units a bit, Jake. Anything going on in there?
When we're in there, I can't say that I've had anything personally happen at the sheds. Now, there is quite a bit of it that stays here. Some of the documentation, some of the more powerful artifacts from the showboat are locked in a little safer spot. And around that area is quite, well, it's a lot more interesting. We'll say that. There's a lot of stuff that happens around those pieces. But the shed, I know Fred said one day that some stuff was moving. You know, we still have the musical chairs. They still play musical chairs.
Nice.
We still have it. So that fun still happens.
Cool. Very cool. Candy Orton is wondering, can the case be moved for review to another county?
We looked into that. It can be moved to state. However, the problem being is that the state fire marshal was never contacted by the local fire department, and the local fire department's investigation was 2 days later and after a good soaking rain. So we are kind of stuck with their professional at night, I will add, at night fire investigation after a good rain.
Professional.
You heard the emphasis on that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in case any of them are watching, and I have no idea if any of them are, but half of them can't even spell their own name, let alone words. So
Didn't you have some issue with somebody who couldn't spell the word stealth?
how do you spell the word stealth?
Oh man, Mike, I tell you what, I was trying to keep a straight face during that because Shana and Rita are in the showboat yelling, hooked on phonics. I mean, they're screaming it, and I'm trying to hold a straight face talking to the guy. Oh, it was great.
Like, sound this one out. Sound it out.
Say, it's stay off. Stay off.
So this, I mean, it sounds pretty much it's local small town politics that are doing what usual small town local politics do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and this was not a small town, object. This was a national historic landmark.
Right. That was the big thing. It was in a place that it should have never been. And the people around there, and no offense to, the people that were on our side there, but a lot of it, they had very small-minded people that only could see dollars. They couldn't see history. That was a problem.
A $10 super chat from Tom McNicholas. Thank you very much, Tom. Really appreciate it. He says, for the Goldenrod. That's awesome. Thank you. So, but is there anything that could still be done at a national level at this point? Or are they just not interested?
We have, we've looked into every avenue as to what we can do with what we have. And what we have is the evidence. We have the photos. Because the day I showed up to the showboat my goal was to take as many photos as I could. And I did. And all I did was lay those out there and said, I'm not going to put a caption on this, but you look at the evidence for yourself and go from there. But really, we've talked about it. If we keep chasing that, we're never going to make progress on what we need to make progress on. And what we need to make progress on is saving the history that we do have, and that energy that I focused on. And that's the number one now. I'm not going to say if we can find a way to make sure the guys that did this get their payback, we are definitely going to take that time to do it if we can find the avenue to do it right. But that's not my main focus right now. I'm still interested on getting evidence to prove it, so we can do something. But right now, our focus is an upcoming session to figure out what to do next.
Now, the objects that you were able to keep that you have in storage, those are at an undisclosed location, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so nobody can know where those are and possibly tamper or interfere with that, correct?
Correct. Yeah, those are all scattered about, really.
Okay, good. Just checking because damn.
And Jen with a $28 super chat says, with love. Thank you very much, Jen. Absolutely appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yes.
I told you we got lovely people.
We do. We
Y'all
really
love
do.
you. We love our Mad Hatters, something fierce.
Yeah.
And can't wait to see y'all.
And I am trying to keep this alive, folks. You probably see me kind of moving my head, looking around. I'm milking it for as much as we can. We're down to 11% battery.
Boy.
Yeah. So basically what's happened is the little 90-watt power supply just starts overheating and doesn't want to work anymore. So then it just drains the battery. And, I'll let it cool down for a minute and then pop it back in. It'll keep it level for a little bit until it, overheats again. So. All right. So.
Now, I was going to ask real quick, Jake, do you have any type of fundraisers or anything that you're going to be doing to progress maybe getting some type of museum or rebuilding or anything? Do you have anything like that going on in the future? Is that part of what you're going to be doing at ParaCon? What's going on?
ParaCon, what I'll be doing is informational. I don't believe in, openly asking for donations when I don't have a set plan in place. And I don't want to ask people for something that they don't know where their money's going. So until the point that we have that solid plan, it's the board members that have been supporting the storage of the artifacts, and of course the donations coming from Haunted Road Media help immensely with that too. And that's where that money is going, is the artifacts, keeping them in storage. So it's the board members. Yep. Board members, Haunted Road Media, the only ones supporting the project right now with holding those things. But after that, after the plan is in place, then we will open up the fundraising again. And we had some amazing fundraisers in the past. And I mean, really, really great. So I'm excited to get back into that once we can get to that point.
Maybe once that happens, we can have like a little reunion, come up there, sell books, or hell, I'll cook for y'all. I don't care. We'll have bacon. Come meet the Haunted Road Media family and eat our cookies. Whatever, if y'all need any help, you just holler. I can drive 9 hours.
Let's do it.
That.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
So,
how we doing, Mike?
We're doing all right. We're doing okay. So I do want to, we have 15 minutes left. I don't know if we can make it.
Let's do the shout out.
You want to do the shout outs just in case?
Let's do the shout outs just in case. We got to show some love.
Yeah. So we'll start with the Super Chat Superstars. Let me get that screen up if this will stop moving around. So Super Chat Superstars, we have, and there is Robert White, right as we were talking about it, with an Australian $5 Super Chat for the Goldenrod. So Zippy Davis, Tom McNicholas, Vicky Lawrence, Tom McNicholas again, Jen, and Robert White. Thank you guys very, very much. Really do appreciate it. So we'll do some shout outs real quick, and then we'll finish off the show with whatever we can squeeze in. So down to Gorton, our Cheshire Cat down in the chat. I don't know if Bonnie Halperin, did she make it in? If so, those are our Cheshire Cats working the chat room. Sean Gilmore, thank you very much. Jen, Jojo B, that's Jody Brewer. Chipper Terry, good to see you again. Tammy Heisman, thanks for joining us once again. Ava Geller, thanks for joining us tonight. Fungi, thank you for being down. I know, I love saying the name. Fungi. Spooky Spectacular Dawn, thank you very much for joining us tonight. And there is Zippy Lee M. Earl. Thanks for joining us tonight, Lee. Joanne Rubino, thanks for joining us again. Candy Orton, your ghosty is on the way. And yeah, here's ghosty. There we go. All right. So who else do we have in here?
Nicholas said $50 for Vanessa's cookies.
There you go.
Good cookies.
Shay Carroll, thank you very much. I know Chuck Banks was in here earlier. It's Beyond the Light Network, so we are simulcasting here. YouTube is our main channel, but also Beyond the Light Network, which is on Spreaker and then also on Periscope. So thank you guys very much, Beyond the Light Network. Sean Oldsmith from Australia as well. Thank you for the questions tonight. Lady Lynn, thank you for joining us this evening. There was somebody up there earlier from New York that was in and said they were a new subscriber, which is great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I don't know if I'm going to be... because it cuts off at some point. Who else do we have? X-Group Home Kid, thanks for joining us once again. And yeah, I'm going to scroll back down to the bottom. So if we miss anybody, of course, we apologize. No offense. We try to include everybody as much as we can.
We love you.
There is Bethany Warner and Diane Hilbert. Yeah, fungi. You said it like it's a big announcement. It's just fun to say. fungi. I don't know. And there's the blue message. Your battery is running low. Yes, I know. Thank you.
Uh-oh.
So this is definitely going to have to be it. Okay. So, yes, thank you. I understand. I read it the first time. Okay, you can find, Jody Brewer's asking, where can you find the books? Okay, so you can find this. You can find it at hauntedroadmedia.com, MikeRicksucker.com, Amazon.com. So part of the proceeds do go to help the Goldenrod Showboat right now, is to help preserve the memory. And like Jake said, a lot of it's going toward the storage fees right now to hang on to that stuff. So yes, check that out. We do have it set. Stop it. It's continuously yelling. This is a second edition now, so it has additional stories and photos in it, so a little bit different than our first edition. So check that out. It's the new special Goldenrod edition. So, all right. Well, thank you guys. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do Inside the Upside Down because this just is not going to be ready for it. We'd be going through the same thing that we just did here, and with less time. And with the child spirits, Shana has a lot of stories associated with that. Of course, we had a slideshow that goes along with it and things like that. So that will be our Inside the Upside Down for next week. So you good with that, Shana?
Works for me.
All right. So Jake, sorry we had to cut you off a little bit short. I do apologize for that, but thank you for coming on tonight.
Glad to be here.
All right. And that will do it. So you take care, everybody, and be here next week. We have Ken Boggle is coming back next week.
Yay!
Yeah.
Yay!
All right, everybody. Have a great night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.